Praise the Lord, my beautiful, blessed souls. We are back with another word, bruised and not broken. Hello, everybody. Well, today is August 18th, but I didn't do a word yesterday, but yesterday and today both are very on time and very intriguing. August 17th said time. I'm going to read it, and then August 18th said time. And I myself been thinking about time, my own life. I am going to be 47 soon. So, it plays a big part. But it also plays a big part in this lesson. We are in 2 Samuel chapter 4. So I'm going to read it. Okay, August 17th, it says time. How can I make the best use of my time? Now, this is very important because time is the one thing that is so important because we do not get it back. Time is a gift. God gives you time so that you have the opportunity to serve Him. Valuing time begins with seeing it from God's perspective. When you do so, you learn that there is always time to accomplish God's plans for your life. When you give your time to the Lord, He promises that no opportunity will be wasted. Now, God's promises to us in Psalms 90:12 teach us to make the most of our time so that we may grow in wisdom. Ephesians 3:15-18 says, be careful how you live, not as how fools live, but as those who are wise. Make the most of every opportunity for doing good in these evil days. Don't act thoughtlessly, but try to understand what the Lord wants you to do. Let the Holy Spirit fill and control you. James 4:14. How do you know what will happen tomorrow? For your life is like the morning fog. It's here a little while, and then it's gone. These things are very important because how we live our lives and what we do with our time are so very important. And I don't think this is the one thing that kind of really gets at me. This is why when I'm dealing with certain situations now, I know how my time is so much more important now because I'm getting closer to 50. So the older you get, the more you appreciate the time more. And that is because you see it differently. And now younger people may not see it this way because they think they have all the time in the world. And it is sad because even nowadays, more younger people are leaving here before their time. So we have to pay attention to these things. Why? Because what did they do with their lives when they were alive? How did they live them? You see what I'm saying? And it's not to say it like that, but let's just pay attention. We think we have all the time in the world until we don't. It is very precious. It is valuable. And this is why I'm at a place in my own life where people have to respect that. I'm not going to keep going through the same things with people over and over again. By now, we're old enough to know better and be doing better. And if not, then listen. I can't sit around and wait around for folks. So anyway, August 18th, it says time. How can I find the time that I need? Because a lot of us, we need time for certain things. And we need to cut out time in other areas. But we're going to look at it. Believe it or not, the best way to have the time that you need is to devote time to God for worship and to yourself for rest. Exactly. Devoting time to God gives you the spiritual refreshment and the opportunity to hear His priorities for you. Devoting time to rest gives you physical refreshment and the energy to do what it is that you are called to do. Now, this is why, because this is the most important thing. The time God gives us is not for us to do all the things we're doing, although He may not mind certain things. But we have an assignment. We have a purpose. We have, a reason that we were born and put here. Are we doing what God put us to do here? And this is where our time needs to be going. In God's response, Exodus 28-11, it says, remember to observe the Sabbath day. And by keeping it holy, 6 days a week are set apart for your daily duties and your regular work. But the seventh day is the day of rest and dedicated to the Lord your God. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth and the sea and everything in them. Then He rested on the seventh day. That is why the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and set it apart as holy. Now, God never changed the Sabbath day. I don't know who changed it to Sunday, but God never did that. The Sabbath day is still on a Saturday. Exodus 16:23, He replied, the Lord has appointed tomorrow as a day of rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. On this day we will rest from our normal daily tasks. So bake, boil as much as you want today and set aside what it is left for tomorrow. That makes a lot of sense because we need to prepare whatever it is today for tomorrow so that when the time of rest, we can rest. And that's spiritually, naturally, that's all around. Pay attention. Mark 2:27, he said to them, the Sabbath was made to benefit people and not for people to benefit the Sabbath. So now when I look at it from a biblical and a natural standpoint, time is something that is very important, not just to us, but to God. And it should be so. And the time that you have here, and I tell people, the most important thing on the tombstone is the dash. The day you came and the day you left, but is very important. But what you did in that time frame, that dash, is so important with your life. So we're going to look at this. This is 2 Samuel chapter 4. And like I said, 1 minute you're here and the next minute you could be gone, because tomorrow's never promised anyone. I see a lot of stuff going on. A lot of deaths have been going on. A lot of things in my heart goes out to these families. But more than anything, I wonder what their lives was like and what they were doing with their lives, because now that their time is up, did they accomplish what they were supposed to do here? Did they accomplish the assignment and purpose that God sent them? Or did they waste their time? Meaning they did not get on the assignments, the things that were important, to God, to get around to doing them. Because more than anything, when we get to Judgment Day, God is going to ask us about all these other things, don't get me wrong. But he's going to ask us, what did we do with the time that he gave us? Did we live our lives the way that we were supposed to? Did we complete our assignment? The reason we were born? And this is why it's so important for us to know our assignment, to know why we were put here, to know our purpose and our assignment and why we were born here. Because we need to be, why? Because there's lives attached to that. And this is more than making money. This is more than other things. Lives are attached to that. Those souls that you would have reached if you had have been in your assignment, in your purpose. The souls that could have, instead of went to hell, or, lives could have been changed. They could have went to heaven instead. But if we're not doing our part and we're just wasting the time that God gave us, we're going to be held accountable for it. We need to understand this. And we also need to hold ourselves accountable, along with our family, friends, whatever, accountable for our time as well. Because we need to be paying attention to where it is that our time is going and how that is being used. Why? Because I keep telling people, time is the most expensive thing you ever have, because you do not get it back. Every minute, every hour, every second, you blink that minute, it is gone from your life. The time clock is ticking from the time you were born. It is going forward. It never stops and it never goes back. So I tell people, don't waste my time because of that. I value my time more than anything. Don't have me waiting around. Don't put my life on pause. Don't play games with me. Don't do all of this, because you are taking away from time, energy, effort that I could be putting somewhere else. You see what I'm saying? It is not expendable, because I do not get it back. And where I choose to involve or invite people into my life or not, or have time and make time for them, they should be very appreciative of that, because I don't have to. So if I have done that and I rearrange things to make time for you, know that you were considered a valuable person, because I don't do that for everybody. But if you waste it, then I will not deal with you, because I have other things going on just like everyone else. If I'm going to do things, we're going to do things. If we're not, we're not. Don't waste my time. I won't waste yours. So now we're going to look at this 2 Samuel chapter 4. When Ishbosheth, Saul's son, heard that Abner had died at Hebron, his courage failed, and all Israel was dismayed. Now Saul's son had 2 men who were captains of raiding bands. The name of them was Bana, and the other name was Rechab. They was the sons of Rimmon, a man of Benjamin from Beeroth. For Beeroth also is counted part of Benjamin, in the tribes of Benjamin. The Beerothites fled to Gittim and have been sojourners there to this day. So why is this so important? Because Jonathan, the son of Saul, had a son who was crippled in his feet. He was 5 years old when the news about Saul and Jonathan came from Jezreel. And his nurse took him up and fled. And as she fled in her haste, he fell and became lame. And his name was Mephibosheth. So now, remember that because it's going to become important. Now the sons of Rimmon, the Bethlehemite, Rechab and Baanah, set out and about in the heat of the day, and they came to the house of Ishbosheth as he was taking his noonday rest. And they came into the midst of the house as if to get wheat, and they stabbed him in the stomach. Now, do you see how this stuff happens? Okay, folks are very sneaky. They are conniving. They are opportunists. These people are obviously close because they were able to come, get in, and with no problem. This is why we have to be so very careful of who is around us and what is going on. So they were able to get in the house and stab this person. So now we see what is going on. So then Rechab and Baanah, his brother, escaped. And when they came into the house, as he lay on his bed in the bedroom, they struck him and put him to death and beheaded him. This is why we have to be so careful, because we don't know who really means us well or who don't. We have to pay attention because stuff like this. This was an opportunist thing. Why? Because they saw what was going on with Saul and Jonathan. So they were, loyal to Saul and Jonathan until they were killed. So now they see that David is eventually going to conquer it. So they weren't trying to get themselves, opportunists, positioned to come back to David and make themselves look good. So this is what this is. They think they're handling something for David. But see, David's waiting on God's timing because he knows that he's not rushing anything. He knows that God is going to handle it. So let's pay attention. So they took his head and went by the way of Arabah all night and brought the head of Ishbosheth to David at Hebron. And they said to the king, "Here is the head of Ishbosheth, the son of Saul, your enemy, who sought your life." Now, nowhere near did they say he was seeking David's life. I know they appointed and anointed him, Abner, but I don't remember him ever. And you see how folks can manipulate, lie, and twist things, the narrative, to make it look so themselves look good for whatever it is they're trying to do. The Lord has avenged my Lord the King this day on Saul and his offspring. So they're putting it in their hands to go make these things right, which nobody called them to do. God then asked them, it's out of their own pride, their own ego, their own opportune thing, trying to get in good with David. This is what this is about. We have to pay attention. Opportunistic people, I'm telling you, they will do any and everything. Why? Because they are out for the next opportunity. That's it. They're trying to come up all of the time. And they don't mind killing you, destroying you in the process. This is that step over each other's spirit. But David answered Rechab and Baanah, his brother, the son of Rimmon, the Bethlehemite, "As the Lord lives, who has redeemed my life out of every adversary, when one told me, behold, Saul is dead, and thought he was to bring good news, I seized him and killed him at Ziklag," which is what he's telling them. They thought by killing Saul, they was doing him or telling him that they killed Saul, finding favor in his sight. But remember, if David wanted to kill Saul, he could have long time ago. Just like Saul, but God didn't allow it on either end because it was going to be his predetermined time as to when that was going to, when he was going to step in and fix it. So this is what David was doing. So a lot of times people think that you're stupid and you don't know. No, you're just sitting back. You're watching all of the things that go on, but you're allowing God to handle it because you know that if you handle it yourself, you're going against God. You're going out of his alignment and out of his way, and you're taking it out of his hands. You're putting it into your own. So you got to let God have control. Do things his way, the way he sees fit, and not get in his way. We will mess things up this way. So all these people are doing this. Now, it's not for God. It's for themselves. And this is what we have to pay attention to, because a lot of times this is what this is about. It's not about God. It's about their own fame, fortune, own come up, own whatever. This is what this is. Now, how much more will wicked men have killed a righteous man in his own home, in his bed? Exactly. Shall I not require his blood at your hand and destroy you from the earth? Why? Because you went there the way that you did everything, the way that y'all wasn't in battle, it wasn't even anything. He was innocent. Although they had beef, you went over there and you killed him. I didn't ask you to do it. You did it on your own. What was your reasoning? You're trying to get in good with me because you was an enemy of mine yourself. So now see how this happens. So now, and David commanded his young men and said, and they killed them out of their hands. And David commanded his young men, and they killed them out and cut off their hands and feet and hanged them beside the pool at Hebron. But they took the head of Ishbosheth and buried it at the tomb of Abner at Hebron. See, now this makes, when we look at it, right? Because see, they wanted things to be on their time. And when we look at time, it means a lot in this chapter. We can look at time in so many different ways, but they didn't want to wait on God to handle it because they wanted this to be on their terms, And so they took it out of God's hands, took it out of David's hands to make themselves look good. So let's pay attention. So 2 Samuel 4 exemplifies David's patience and trust in God, because people may think you're stupid when you're going through all of these things in your life and they don't understand why you just sit back letting it happen. Why? They think, but no, there's always reasoning behind what is going on. Although they may not understand and you do not have to explain. You know, and God know what is going on. God promised to make him king when he was a teenager. So this is why David trusted in him. He knew no matter what was going on, God was going to fix it. He didn't know when, where, or how, but he knew that God was going to do it in his own time. So he stayed out of God's way and he let God handle it. And this is what you got to do. Step back and let God do it. Because a lot of times when we try to handle things, we make a mess of things. But when we let God handle whoever, wherever, however, we see they will get their just deserves in their due season. He's going to pay and he's going to deal with it in his own time. 7 years prior to this chapter, Saul died in battle. Exactly. David became king of the tribe of Judah. He stayed in Judah, content to let God bring the other tribes to him rather than to fight to conquer them. Exactly. 2 years prior to the events, in 2 Samuel 4, Saul's general Abner made Saul's son Ishbosheth king over the remaining tribes. Still, David waited, even as Abner started a civil war. Now, all this time, David could be sitting there thinking like, God, is he going to do it? Is you not? And I'm quite sure that has come, to his mind over this long, lengthy battle, over this long, lengthy time. People see your life as, such a tragedy. It's never worth anything. But you know what's going on, and God knows. It's between you two. Eventually God is going to step in and do it. Whatever he promised you to fix through whatever in your life, whatever it is you have going on, you don't have to prove it to other people. You don't have to put it out there, let them see it, know it. No, they can sit back and question, well, why is she this, and why is she this one that, and why are you doing this? They can question it all they want to. They don't have the answers. You don't have the answer per se, but you know who does. And God has the answer in what he already said to you. So you sit back and you let it all play out. Now, Abner has been murdered by Joab in revenge for his brother Ashiel. Ishbosheth is terrified. Abner used all his power and influence to put Ishbosheth on the throne and to fight a war against David for control of Israel. But before he died, Abner rebelled against Ishbosheth. Remember, he turned on him and convinced the elders of Israel to follow David as king. All of them, none of them are loyal. Both Ishbosheth and Israel are in a dangerous situation. Now, in fact, 2 men are already plotting to kill Ishbosheth to gain David's favor. This is the motives. You got to understand, people don't want to just deal with you. They have motives. Everybody has their own agenda as to what it is they want. And you have to pay attention to that. Some of these things is what you want to do. Some of them is not. But they'll try to manipulate you, control you into doing what it is they want you to do because it's beneficial to them and make it look like it's for you. No, it is not. It's all in benefit of them. Rechab and Baanah are brothers from the Benjaminite town of Beeroth. They are the bandit captains supposedly loyal to the king. Remember, supposedly. But with Abner's death, their loyalties have turned already. This is what folks will do. Wherever the benefits is flowing, they'll leave you and go over there. As soon as something go wrong in your life, boom, they're gone. So, Ishbosheth is not only a living descendant of Saul, he's Jonathan's son. Now, Mephibosheth is still alive. They're not paying attention to that. He was 5 when his father and his grandfather were killed in the battle against the Philistines. So he also has actual right to the throne. But see, he's hidden. Right now, he's hidden. He's the lame one. He's the one that they think is never, but you're going to pay attention because it's going to flip. As his nurse fled with him, she drops him and he became lame. So now he's 12 years old. Now, no one seems to be interested either in making Mephibosheth king or killing him, the boy, to stop him from claiming the throne. Because remember, as Saul's heir, he rightfully will be next in line if everyone else is gone. This is why heirs and all these things are so important in having sons. So the brothers Rechab and Baanah arrive at Ishbosheth's house in the heat of the day when the people usually are rested. They pretend, and this is what people do so much, that they've come to buy wheat, meaning they come in a regular manner. They're not coming to kill him. They're coming just to be, They make their way to Ishbosheth's bedroom and strike him dead. They cut off his head and travel by night from Ishbosheth's capital to Mahanaim, to David's headquarters in Hebron. The brothers present Ishbosheth's head to David, apparently expecting a reward for killing his so-called rival to the throne. They tell David that they have avenged him for Saul's attempts to murder him. David's looking at them like, well, I didn't ask you to do that. David is not pleased. Of course he's not. Since he left Saul, David has corrected several men who have claimed to be loyal to Saul, but to be completely misjudged in the respect of love as to for God's anointed king and his family. Because remember, God still anointed Saul king first. He was the first king that they had. Even though Saul went his own way, is still respected because God still gave him the throne. David tells them about the Amalekite who came to him in Ziklag seeking a reward with the news that he had killed Saul. So that man's price was death. Exactly. Ishbosheth had done nothing against David. Exactly. David orders his men to execute the pair and cut off their hands and feet. He commands that their bodies to be hung in public as a curse. David has Ishbosheth's head interred into Abner's womb. Now, with both Abner and Ishbosheth dead, the elders of the northern and eastern tribes of Israel are free to pledge their allegiance to David. They gathered at Hebron and make a covenant with him. David has ruled Judah for 7.5 years. He'll reign as the king of the United Tribes for another 33. Now, we haven't gotten that far, but we see what is going on. God is arranging it. Although this has been a long, hard, drawn out battle for David, it's not delayed. It's not delayed. It's on time. Although we think it is, it's not stagnated. It's not backwards. God's plan and his thoughts is not ours. He did this for whatever, to make David stronger, to make him be able to carry the weight of going and having the full-fledged throne. So this is what this is about, and we're paying attention. So the time frame, it looks like everybody else was trying to push this time thing. They wanted the timing to be cut short because they wanted to end it all. And sometimes we, like I said, we get in God's way when we think that, and even with our suffering, because sometimes, I'm quite sure this was an issue, a situation where David knew he was going through a lot of suffering to get to the throne, to even get to the throne. He hasn't even completely gotten all of the throne. And so I'm quite sure he's about tired and he wants it to end, but he's not going to overstep the boundary of making it end on his own. He's going to allow God to do it in his own timing. And this is what trusting God really looks like. And it is not for the weak. It is not. Now, 2 Samuel 4, when Abner was slain, David was at a loss for his friend to perfect the reduction of those tribes that were yet in Ishbosheth's interest. Remember, that was still his friend's child. Remember, Jonathan and him was friends. Ishbosheth was one of his children. So, of course, this is, so which way to adapt for the accomplishment of it, he could not tell. But the providence brings it out about the removal of Ishbosheth. Two, his own servants slew him and brought his head to David, meaning his own people. David, instead of rewarding them, put them to death for what they had done. I'm quite sure this was hard for David as well, because he promised Jonathan that he wouldn't kill his children off and he wouldn't do anything. Remember, they were friends, okay? And they had this close brotherly bond, even though Saul was his father and after him. So I'm quite sure this was not what David wanted. This is why he didn't himself go along and do these things. Exactly. Okay, so we're going to get into a breakdown of this. So we're looking at, 2 Samuel chapter 4. We're going to look at it. 1, it is loaded. It is loaded with a lot of things, and timing is, remember, there's a time for everything. There's a season for everything under the sun. We can't move ahead. We can't move backwards. We have to be right in timing. And remember, I was talking about the fruit. God allows the fruit to grow, right? It cannot be plucked too early, and it cannot be left there too late, because it has to be just ripe to be ripe. And this is what, the divine timing, the chronos timing, whatever, God's timing, his alignment is the perfect will, is the perfect way that it's going to be set up. Now, whatever way that will be, we never really know. We don't know. He may give us breadcrumbs here and there, but for the most part, we never know the full story. And I believe he does that because he doesn't want us to know that it's going to take all of this and this many years for us to get to wherever it is he's put it, because a lot of us wouldn't do it. We wouldn't want to do it if we knew the full outcome, the full story, the full situation. Okay, so now we're talking about fear, assassination, opportunism, lineage, justice, and the protection of destiny. It shows how God handles people who try to help his chosen ones, but helping them in the wrong way. So everything good ain't God, and everything we think is good is not, the godly way, or it will be the world's standard of good, but not God's standard of good. So we're going to break this down. Lineage, motives, fear, opportunism, justice, destiny, and protection. Now, this chapter's core message is God protects David's destiny from people who try to force it, to rush it, to manipulate it for their own good. And you can see people doing that on both ends, either claiming to try to help him, or on the opposite, trying to put obstacles in his way. So you have both happening simultaneously, but it's all about their motives. What are their true intentions? So now the chapter teaches not everyone who helps you is sent by God. That's number one. Exactly. Some people attach themselves to you for the rise of their own selves with selfish reasons. This is what this is. And then some people will be totally against you and want to block you. So God rejects elevation built on blood, shortcuts, and or manipulation. Let's say that again. God rejects elevation that is built on blood, shortcuts, and or manipulation. So you cannot manipulate. And this is why diviners, tarot card readers, all of that, because they look in, they take, they do all of this stuff. God is not in that, because you're not supposed to do that. Destiny must unfold in God's timing, not human ambition, not you taking it out of God's hands. Not he is the creator. He already has whatever he has for us. And this is when we get in his way and go against him, when we're doing it our way. And this is what this is. That's rebellion. That's although people think rebellion in itself against God is witchcraft and sorcery. Why? Because you are doing the opposite of what God wants you to do. Even if you do it late, it's still disobedience, and it is against God's will. So Ishbosheth's fear. When Ishbosheth heard Abner was dead, his hands became weak. And this is why time and timing is so important in doing things in God's timing. When Ishbosheth heard Abner was dead, his hands became weak. Exactly. Ishbosheth's strength was never his own. It was borrowed. Why? Because he never was involved with all this. He was just used as a pawn. He depended on Abner's power, which is what reason Abner put him in power. Abner's loyalty, Abner's leadership, and Abner's influence. When Abner died, Ishbosheth collapsed. This is why. And this is why a lot of people do what they do. Because it's not about you. They're going to let you think it's about you, but it's all actuality. It's about them. They have their hidden motives. They're going to gaslight you. Their hidden agendas. They're going to manipulate. They're going to want to control you. And this is what this is about. And when you see this happening, you must understand that it is what it is. It's because they want to control you. They want to control you to control whatever you have access to or power over. And that's the main goal. So if they can get around you and start using you because they see that you have the throne, or you're headed to the throne or greatness or whatever, they want to position themselves right there so that they can, behind the scenes, have you as their puppet instead of you doing what God told you to do or what you're supposed to be doing, what they want you to do. And these are people who want you to continuously be a puppet. And I have seen this throughout my own life, and I have to get away from all of this now, because the more God is showing me things, people, places, and things in my life, the more I have to get away from this type of stuff. These are hindrances and blockers. 1, to my time, 2, to my destiny, all of these things. So when Abner died, Ishbosheth collapsed. This reveals people who rise through others fall exactly when those people leave. And this is what this is about. Leadership is built on dependency, cannot survive. And this is what this is. And when we look at who depends on somebody else, you can't depend on other people. You have to depend on yourself and with your walk with God. You can't depend, because people will or will not be there. They have their own lives, their own stuff going on. And people rise and fall through others if you allow them. And the opportunist thing, they'll walk away when things are bad. They'll come back when things is good. This is why we have to pay attention. Fear exposes who was never truly called. This mirrors, it can mirror your lifestyle. Some people around you were only felt strong because of who they were connected to, not because of who they were. And when we sit down and we look at our own lives and we see, what was going on in our lives, and we connected certain people, there was a blessing, and our lives was different, flourishing. And then sometimes when we were around some people, all we did was go through, a lot of hell, and then we got to pay attention to that. Now, Jonathan's son, Mephibosheth, a small verse with huge meaning. Mephibosheth is Jonathan's son, Saul's grandson. He's 5 years old. He was dropped and crippled during the chaos. That says a lot. Being crippled, not able to move, not able, exactly. We see in the natural state he's crippled, but also in the spiritual. Why? Because he's not able to acquire the throne. He's somewhere hidden. But God has this timing for this timing, so we're going to pay attention. Now, this shows a collateral damage of unstable leadership. When adults fail, children suffer. Lineage suffers, future suffers, destiny suffers. And this we have to take accountability for as adults. What have we done to our children as adults? They may say we've done things to them, and that may be true, whether we know it or not. And we may say that they have done stuff to us, and that also can be true, whether the children know it or not. But all of this, as leaders and heads, is what happens. Children, so when adults fail, and that's when they fail their role, they fail in some aspect of their position in life, we see the collapse of a lot of things. Children do suffer, lineage suffers, the future children suffers, and destiny suffers. This is why when we're making, key situations and decisions, sometimes one thing can change your whole life for the next 15, 20 years. I tell people this, I myself know, at 14 and becoming pregnant and being out on, when my dad put me out and life got real. I had to grow up then. And life has never been the same for me since. And I'll be 47. My son will be 32. So you talk about 32 years ago. But it has been a part. And not only that, all the other stuff, that has happened before that. So when we pay attention to these things, okay, and it makes you more vulnerable. When you're single, you're by yourself. It makes you allow people to handle you a certain way more than not, because your perception of love. And I tell people that how you perceive things is different from others. Everybody don't see love the way others do. Some people don't see, their definition of wealth or success is different. Everybody sees things differently. But when we look at our lives and we look at what God says and what the Bible says about it, then we mirror it to that, and then we'll see where we are lacking, and slacking in areas, and where we are doing well in other areas, when it comes to that. So Mephibosheth represents innocent people hurt by generational dysfunction, and this is what this is. Wounds caused by panic and fear, the long-term consequence of unstable environments. This mirrors a lot of people's lives. We're breaking patterns so we don't continue to pass these things down. But if we don't look at them, we don't admit them, and we don't try to work on fixing them, then it will continue on. So remember, innocent people, Mephibosheth, innocent people are hurt by generational dysfunction. Wounds caused by panic and fear, the long-term consequence of unstable environments. So now the two assassins, Rechab and Baanah, these men were captains under Saul's son. They see the kingdom shift and they want to secure their future. So they kill Mephibosheth in his sleep. Why? Timing. When you pay attention to all of these things, you're looking at the timing of it. The time in the past, the time in the present, the time in the future. Everything is timing. So now, the two assassins. So these men were captives under Saul's son. They see the kingdom shifting. They want to secure the future, so they kill him in his sleep. Now, insight on this. These men represent opportunists. That's number one. Two people who switch sides for personal gain. They have their own, agendas and motives. Okay? And you can see this at work, with your friends, with your family, with your children, your spouse, whoever. And if you are this type of person, you switch sides for depending on who's, beneficial to your life. People who attach themselves to rising people or leaders. People who try to help you by doing you wrong. or think that that's, and sometimes they know and sometimes they don't. People who want credit for your elevation, or people who want credit, period, for what it is that you are doing. Because a lot of times people will sit back and they'll see you doing stuff and they'll use it or whatever, but they won't give you the credit, and they never want you to have it. And anything you're doing, they're going to be in opposition of it, meaning they don't want to see you rise. They don't want to see you have anything. They don't want to see you do anything, all because it's you. Now, they'll take credit for whatever little this, that, and the third that they brought to the table, if anything at all, for their own motives, to make it look like they did so much when they didn't. I've had this go on with my children. Folks think they've done so much in their lives, and I have to sit back. I appreciate what you have done, but you will never outdo me as their mother doing for them. You can never be me and be their mother. You will be a aunt or whoever, and that's wonderful. But you can never take the place of me in my children's lives. And I've had it. And it's been a lot of manipulation with my kids and other people, and it's ridiculous. But anyway, their motives: fear, ambition, survival, self-preservation, and desire for favor. They think, if we kill your enemy, you will reward us. But destiny doesn't work like that. So remember, these are the motives of people: fear, ambition, survival, self-preservation, and desire for favor. This is their motives. And they think if we kill your enemy, you will reward us. You allow us to come and be a part. But destiny does not work like that. The assassination. They enter Ishbosheth's house. They stab him, they cut off his head, and they travel all night to bring it to David, thinking that they're doing something good. Remember, they were part of Ishbosheth's camp. So you see the betrayal. Now, this is false loyalty. They want credit, they want reward, position, proximity, and favor. This is what this looks like. We were just talking about that. They think we did your dirty work, which was something nobody never asked them to do, right? And wasn't authorized, didn't tell you, didn't want you to do that, because that's not what David wanted. But David never asked for this. And this mirrors, a lot of our lives. Some people try to help, so they think, but they're not helping. They're just making the whole situation worse by attacking your so-called enemies, or even attacking you, spreading gossip, creating drama, forcing outcomes, rushing your processes, and manipulating situations. But God doesn't bless elevation built on blood and or chaos. So this is why this is not going to work. But see, they don't know that, but David knows that. That's why he's sitting back. And see, when people think you're stupid and you're like David and you're just sitting back and they're like, well, why shouldn't do this and why they didn't do that? Because we already know, well, God has already told me he's going to work these things out. I don't know when, where, or how, but I know he is. And whatever they have going on in their lives, they might want to look at, because then they might want to see how God's working some things in their life so that they can see where they have been in the wrong. Because folks will have stuff occur and it will be right in their face, but they won't see it. They'll see it when it's you all day, but they never see it when it's them. So David's response: David is horrified. He rebukes them. He executes them. He honors Ishbosheth by burying him. Now, David shows integrity, he shows justice, he shows restraint, he shows emotional intelligence, spiritual maturity, and respect for God's timing. David teaches us that we never reward people who try to force our destiny. He says, I don't need you to kill for me. God delivers me. This is the heart of this chapter. Why? Because when folks step in and they think that this is what they're doing, God does not need us to do anything. He will do it in his own timing. If he wants us to be used, he will let us know in what areas, when, where, and how. And we have to pay attention to that. We have to be on his timing, in his will, in his alignment. And then things will get done. And it will get done the right way, not our way, but in the world's way, but God's way. There's a big difference. So balance. Why David honors Ishbosheth. Ishbosheth was weak. He was insecure. He was manipulated. He was not chosen. But David still honored him. Why? Because David respects God's order, even when people are flawed. Honor protects your character, your witness, your destiny, your lineage, and your future. David refused to rise through murder and or manipulation. Right? Confusion, all of that. This can be your calling as well. You can rise through God, not through drama and trauma. Spiritual things, destiny cannot be rushed. God elevates in his timing. Opportunities always appear during transition, but you have to discern the motives. Meaning people will come along, false loyalty, and they could be very dangerous. Not everyone who helps you is sent by God. We have to pay attention to this. Innocent people suffer under unstable leadership. Mephibosheth is the symbol of this. God rejects elevation built on blood. So anyone who's rising, your hands must be clean. Honor protects your future. David's integrity is his crown. That is who he is. That is why God chose him, one of the reasons. So, we're going to look at the mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual meanings of all of this because they have a lot. Mentally, the fear collapses people who were never truly strong. So, this will show you in areas in your life where you're strong or where you're not. Opportunist acts out of panic. So, if something's going wrong, you're going to rush over here, rush over there, instead of being stable and standing on God and his word. David's clarity protects him from manipulation. And this is what this is. We have to discern situations. Like I said, even though I knew I went through the shows, I had to give up all of this stuff. I had to go through a bunch of things, but I knew God eventually, even though I'm not where I want to be in my life. People say, oh, she crazy, oh, this. No, it has nothing to do with that. I know that, God is a rebuilder. I know that it's certain things that I do not have to go through with people, places, and things. Meaning I don't have to take it. I can stand there and go through certain things for a certain amount of time, but this is not a lifelong sentence, okay? Remember timing. Seasons, they do change. And you need to be changing with them. Emotionally, that means physically, people, places, and things. Emotionally, people, places, and things. Financially, people, places, and things. Physically, people, places, and things. Spiritually, people, places, and things. Changing. Emotional. And you're not supposed to stay the same. So anyone says, oh, you're different, you're supposed to be different. You're never supposed to be remaining the same. Emotional. Ishbosheth's insecurity destroys him. Mephibosheth's trauma shapes his future, and David's grief shows emotional maturity. Now, when we look at these things, Ishbosheth was insecure. It destroyed him. Why? Because he allowed himself to be used as a pawn. And a lot of times in life, we do that. We allow ourselves to be used. And a lot of it has to do with our insecurity, how we were brought up. If we were never seen and heard it, we were never considered to be, all that important. All of these things will shape you, even though you don't realize it. You will be made to feel like, this is all life has for me. This is all I am as a person. And you will think, down on yourself because this is where. And a lot of times when you're trying to rebuild your life and do something, that people don't want you to think highly of yourself anymore because they love the old you where they can manipulate, control you, and get over on you. You see what I'm saying? But Mephibosheth's trauma shapes his future. Why? We're going to see that later on down the line because I'm quite sure with him being, not able to walk or considered to be a cripple, I'm quite sure that crippled a lot of things in his life. That kind of became his identity. But that's not what God calls us. It's supposed to be something that happened to us, but it is not supposed to be who we are identity-wise. That's not who we are. It's just something that happened. And this is the difference. We got to understand this. God is showing me and teaching me too, y'all. I'm telling you. David's grief shows emotional maturity. Why he still grieves over Saul. He grieves over the whole situation, but he knows God is in it. It is a part of the plan. It is a part of the process. And he has to just go along with the flow. So yes, he may be angry. He may be hurt, bitter. He may cry for them sometimes and grieve them. But he still has to move forward. And this is what people don't understand. You still have to move forward with your life. And you cannot allow other people to manipulate, control, and dictate to you what that looks like. You can't allow them to destroy your destiny. If you're moving forward, you can't allow them to continue to do the same things that was destroying you in the first place. Like I tell everybody, I'm moving forward with my life. Whatever was going on before, I'm not tolerating it anymore from anybody. If you're trying to destroy me, get over on me, manipulate me, control me, have secret hidden motives and agendas, I'm not dealing with you. And the moment I see it, I'm stepping the heck away from you. I'm not being bothered. Why I cannot continue to sit here and let people play with my time, my money, my energy, my life, my health, my strength, all of these things, my mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual well-being. I have to guard and protect myself over whatever is going on with other people because they may not see it as anything. No, it is something. And if you continue to repeat these same old patterns, that's a problem. I'm learning from stuff. I'm not going to continue to deal with the same old issues and problems with people. If you think you're going to play mind games, I'm not dealing with any of that. The moment I see it, because a lot of times I let it stay for a long time in my life, I'm not doing that anymore. And a lot of us got to pay attention, because it's like, we know it, but it hurts us. We see it, but it's something in us that allows it to continue. And we have to heal that part of us that allows folks to continue to do that. It is not healthy. It is dysfunctional. Physically, Ishbosheth's body is violated. Mephibosheth's body is crippled. David protects the dignity of the dead. And this is what this looks like. You know? And it is sad to be violated, to be crippled by people. And this is in the natural, spiritual, this is all of this. You don't want to continually be violated and crippled. Meaning not able to move forward. Distractions, obstacles, stuff getting in the way of you trying to do what you're trying to do. I'm trying to build my life back. I'm going to be 47. I don't have time to play games with people. A lot of my time in my life is behind me. I need to build my life back now, and I have no time to play no games with anybody because I have to get it together. Why? Because what does my future look like? For me. Not begging nobody, asking nobody to do nothing for me. What does that look like for me? And if you're here trying to hinder whatever it is that I'm trying to move forward in, you have become an obstacle, a blockage, and you will be removed one way or another. I am not going to sit here and let my life be delayed, stagnated, and backwards by people who want to manipulate and do all of these things for their own good, to protect themselves and have themselves living away when I'm going to be out here struggling while they, living good. No, that's not going to happen. Not at all. Financially, opportunists seek economic security. Saul's house collapses financially with his death. David's kingdom stabilizes resources. Now, opportunities seek economic security. This is what this is. Opportunists. They're always looking for economic security, and they will prey on you. They will try to manipulate you, control you in order for you to let them be economically secure. While you over here economically struggling or whatever, you can't do that. You can't sacrifice yourself, which is what I was doing my whole life for other people. And then when you let it happen, and then you get to a point where you're depleted and you have nothing, and everyone's somewhere doing them, and then you sit back and you say to yourself, well, Dad, what happened? You happened. You allowed it. If you saw it and you didn't stop it, you allowed it. This part of my life, I am not allowing it. If I see that you have become a hindrance to me and what my well-being is, having a roof over my head, food on my table, clothes on my back, if I can't have the basic necessities, you got to go. Your situation, all of it got to go. Anything getting in my way of that is going to be a problem. It's going to be handled and dealt with ASAP. Why? I have no time to play games with folks. Because when I was homeless, I was struggling, I was going through my stuff, everybody was somewhere living their life and they didn't care. So I'm not going to let you come here and have me sacrifice me for you. I'm not doing that. Get it together like I had to. I don't care what it is. You got to grow up and get it together just like I have to. Certain things we all have to do, okay, in order for us to live and be here. You can't just sit around and expect people to take care of you and do everything for you your whole life. It's called responsibility, bills to pay. All of these things have to be done. And no one can sit around and think that they're going to get away from that. This is something that's here. We all have to do this. And some of us have gotten accustomed or have had it where they didn't have to do those things. And that was a blessing. But there's going to come a time in a season in your life where things are going to change. And you're going to have to move forward and deal with it. Get it together. You can't sit around and think that someone's going to take care of you your whole life. That's not happening. Nobody owes you nothing. Saul's house collapses financially with his death. And a lot of times this happens depending on what's going on. If the lineage is not passed on, if there's no wills, if there's no things set in place. And I was talking about this before. If you haven't established, if you haven't built wealth for your children, if you don't have even if you have and you don't have a will and you don't have it, litigated like to where it's legal and you know what needs to be, then no, it will not. All of these things will be for nothing because it will be all about you. And a lot of times when I look at our generation, if they haven't set up anything, whether they became successful, to the max, or they was just a little something, where was the provision for your children, for your grandchildren? Where was the homes, the wills, where was it? And this is where the leadership falls. Because if you don't have anything, then you can't expect no one to run and be taking care of you if you've built nothing and left them nothing. Nothing to work with. And in our communities, between chasing all of these things that mean nothing instead of establishing something, the lineage does not have nothing. Everyone's got to get it out of the mud because nothing's being left. Generational wealth is not being passed down. There's no reason if you went to college, had certain things going on, you've been able to establish yourself, there's no reason for you not to have anything for your children left. That is total selfishness. Selfish. God says he blesses the man that leaves behind inheritance up to the third or fourth generation for their children. Those are the ones who are blessed. Will you leave them nothing? That's like leaving them a curse all over again. Instead of chasing women, chasing sex, chasing addictions and weed and this and that and partying, why don't you want to establish something for your own children? Men and women alike. Mothers, fathers, all listen. Buying all these things, taking all these vacations, having nothing to show at the end of your life is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It shows mismanaged of funds, of the blessings God gave you, of the stewardship, of the knowledge of whatever he has given you to attain, to get to a certain level in life. You have mismanaged it. You did not steward it well at all. It benefited you. Who else was the legacy going to be passed down to? Are your children going to be okay when you leave here? Or are they going to be just as bad, struggling? Do you have a will? Do you have a bill? What is going on? These are the things that we need to be understanding right now. And this is what I mean by when the head fails and it doesn't leave anything, then the rest fails. Everything is a situation. Now it doesn't have to be, because God always leaves a ram in the bush to change it, to change that situation. And usually the one who's trying to change it is met with so much opposition. People like things the way that they are, but how are they working for us thus far? They're not. Obviously, there's an issue. There's a problem here. And if you don't want to work on fixing it, there's a problem with you. You want it to remain the same. Why? It does not work. If it's broke, try to fix it. Do something different. That's it. Financially, opportunities seek economic security, opportunists. Saul's house collapses financially with his death, and David's kingdom stabilizes resources. And this is why David was put in power. Why? Because he was going to have to be the one that God is going to use to help fix all of this crap that was before him. Now, mind you, he got his own crap with all of this fighting and all this other stuff to deal with, but yet he still is called to fix all this other crap. Pay attention. Spiritually, God rejects shortcuts. Right. Everybody wants the short answer, the short way around. No. I told my kids, even when it was time for them, go to school, do this, do that. Why? Don't take the shortcut. You're going to waste time doing that. I did it. I wasted so much time. Honor is a spiritual law. It is. Now, honoring and just doing whatever folks want you to do is two different things. God doesn't tell you to be, just doing whatever people want you to do. That is not true. You're supposed to honor people, yes, but you're not supposed to let them lead you other places and doing things. That is not what God calls honor. Destiny must be clean. Meaning you can't go into this with all this wickedness and all this is why God takes the time to get all this stuff out your heart. Because the same people that hated you, you may have to go and help them. You see what's happening with David. And it's hard to help people when you can't stand them or you got issues and problems with them. You don't want no parts of them. This is what this is. God has to heal that anger, the bitterness, the hurt, the pain. This is what this looks like. Leadership must be righteous. Meaning clean, walking upright, walking with the Lord, following his ways, living the life, righteously. Lineage must be protected, of course, because if not, it will be snatched from under you. It's nothing for someone to come and sow a seed of discord and have everything fall apart. That's so easy to do. And we see this over and over again in our own families, whether it be our little friends, that we were dealing with, or with our parents, or whatever is going on. Folks come along. It could be for our parents. If they was always chasing a man or a woman, the man and woman come in and tell you, oh, don't do this for your kids, or don't do this is what this looks like. break up your family or don't do this, and then, whatever these things look like. And a lot of times when we're not paying attention to what influences us, where our hearts lie. If you're chasing behind a man all the time, a man is going to rule and dictate everything that goes on in your life. If if it's a woman, it's going to be the same thing. Every decision you make is going to be based off, and this is where this becomes your God, your idol that you worship. If it's sex, if it's money, whatever it is, it's going to be your vice. That's where you're going to be using, every decision is going to be based off of those things, which everything's supposed to be based off of what God says, what he wants for your life. Out of alignment. Naturally, panic causes accidents. Mephibosheth's fall. This is what happened because they panicked. And people can fall and be crippled and, whatever, from a lot of different things. Panic, meaning out of fear, out of accidents, out of trying to, cope with things. This can happen, and we see this in our own lives. Weak leadership creates instability, and when you see instability in homes or whatever, this is what this is about. Nothing is stable. I've always been trying to create a stable household for me and my children, because without stability, which men and people, safety, security, stability, these are the things, provided and protected, being able to get up and know that your lights are going to be on, get up and know there's going to be food in the house, get up and know that there's safety and security with certain things. If you don't have that and you live a life of instability, yes, you're going to have a lot of trauma. You're going to be in fight and flight mode your whole life, and that is not good. You make bad decisions when you're in fight and flight mode because you're always in survival stage. You're not supposed to always be in a survival stage. And if you are, that is showing that it's entirely too much going on, and you need to give some of these things to the Lord and let him do it for you and rest. You handle what you can, what God gives you to do, and the rest let God handle. Now, opportunists thrive in chaos. Why? Because this is what they do. They love dysfunction. They love to create it. They can't be without it. That's why a lot of people can't be alone. They can't be by themselves because they have to deal with themselves. It's one thing when you can lie to everybody else, but at the end of the day, you lie to yourself about who you are and what you're capable of doing. The thoughts that go through your heart and mind, really? Right, that part. People can't sit with themselves. They don't want to do the work. To heal, to grow, to do better, to know better, to see where they messed up at so that they can change those things and make them better. I mean, no one's perfect, but we got to look at it. It starts with us. What we can change. You can't change somebody else. And the hardest thing to do is to change yourself, and you need God to help you do that. 10 personal prophetic takeaways we're going to look at. God is protecting our rise from opportunistic people. Not everyone who wants to help us is aligned to you, okay? Your destiny cannot be rushed. God is elevating you cleanly and clearly, in his time. Honor is your shield. It keeps your spirit pure. You have to break generational trauma. That's the healing part. So we don't inherit these things like Mephibosheth to his son, the wounds, passing them down to these children is trauma. God is among people who want to take credit for your rise. Why? Because your elevation will be God-made, not man-made. And this is what this is. And I believe God has been doing that in my life, my whole life. Because everyone wants to see me fail. And if I do rise, they want to say it's because of them. So God eliminates all of that by not allowing them to do certain things, not allowing them to help or be bothered or to turn on me. And then eventually he raises me himself, and then they can never say it was them. They made me, they gave it to me, they said, no, God did it. So we're entering our David Justice System season. Remember the timing. And we will handle situations with clarity, integrity, wisdom, and balance. This is what God is calling us to do. We don't want to be blinded. So you need to have clarity and information on what it is you got going on. You need God to show you and give it to you. And you need the natural stuff as well. So that's the clarity. Integrity is just being a person who has, yay and nay. You stand on what you say and do, and you walk in it. You live it. You need to have the wisdom. The wisdom is going to come from God giving you, from showing you in your life, showing you what's going on, showing you what he wants you to see and how and when how he wants you to see it and move. Balance is keeping the balance in your life, which is what we all trying to do. We have to be here and live here, but we have to have our spiritual, selves here and present as well to help maneuver us in this world, because we are spirit before we are ever, body. So we have to pay attention to these things. I wanted to show how important it is to make the best of our time. Now, this is a prophetic blueprint about timing, seasons, pace, patience, and divine order. Okay, and not rushing ahead of God and not being behind Him, but walking with Him. We do not want to be about assassinations and about what happens when people mishandle time, rush destiny, or try to force God's plan. We're going to look at time in a framework, and we're going to see it in dimensions, how to make the best of our time, how to find it, how to reverence it, and why it is so important. Time is the real battle in this chapter. Rechab and Baanah kill Ishbosheth because they think David's time has come. So let's force it. Let's align with him. But David rejects the action because God's timing cannot be rushed. It's not on their time. It's not on his time. It's on God's time. This chapter shows people who rush time, people who waste time, people who fear time, people who misread or mistreat time, people who respect time, and people who don't. David is the only one who handles this time correctly. Now, how to make the best of time. David's example: stay in your lane until God moves you. So I talk about your position. This is what this is. David refuses shortcuts. He refuses forced elevation. He refuses premature power, right? Because it's not going to last. You can get it, but you won't maintain it. And that's the thing. The best use of time is grow where God placed you until He shifts you. And whether it's somewhere you like or not, it may be where you need to be. Build quietly while others panic loudly. David is building his relationships, alliances, stability, legacy, and character in quiet. He uses his time to prepare, not to rush. This is a big thing. And that's why when you sit back and you let God do what He's doing, He's going to show you, remove, and do what He needs to do by allowing certain situations and things to happen with these people, places, and things. He's going to align you right where you need to be. Why? Because you will continue to deal with folks if they continue to be right. But the moment they show who they are, you see you need to be moved. And that's how He shows us. Now, let God remove what He wants removed. David never kills Saul. He doesn't. You don't kill the people. You never kill Ishbosheth. He never kills Abner. None of his adversaries. He lets time and God do the work. God will handle them in His own time. Why? Because God knows what was going on. He knows more than I do. He might give me little bits and pieces as to what went down and show me the real hearts of people. But at the same token, they'll show me themselves and their actions, words, and whatever. But it's not for me to, kill them or whatever. No, I just let God handle them, move away, and let God handle them. Why? Because I know I can't be getting myself. I have enough battles over here that I have to deal with, the stuff that's mine. I can't change nobody else. I can't force them to love me, be good, be kind to me, like me. You don't have to. I still have a life to live regardless. This train is moving forward. It's pulling out of the station. Whether anyone claps, like me, get on it, help, whatever. It's got to go to its destination. It doesn't stop for nobody. So, the best use of time, let God fight your battles that you don't need to touch. And that's what I've been learning. How to find the time. Finding time is not about hours. It's about alignment. Time appears when you stop forcing outcomes. When you stop rushing, time opens. And this is what this is. Sit back, let God do what He's doing, let Him heal you. Because a lot of times this is your preparational healing time. This is your crying out to Him, outpour time to let Him heal your heart, your mind, your finances, your body, your soul, your spirit. And this is where I am. People see me and they're like, oh, she's alone. Yeah, because God is healing me now from the inside out. I don't mind being alone. I don't mind not having to be rustle, hustle, bustle with everything. No, let me sit here, let me heal, let God do what He's doing in my life. Let God love on me, show me how to love me, and show me how to love others from the inside out, instead of me trying to rush and force. No. Time appears when you stop carrying what isn't yours. David didn't carry Saul's downfall. He didn't carry Ishbosheth's downfall. He didn't carry Abner's downfall. He carried on what God gave him. So I'm not going to carry what is not mine to carry. Okay? And that's in the spiritual and in the natural. I am not. If it's not my burden to carry, if it's not what God assigned me to do, I'm not carrying it. If it's something that will potentially destroy me in the process, I am not carrying it. God didn't call me to do that. Time appears when you simplify your life, and this is where I am. David's life is focused, one mission, one calling, one direction. Focus creates time. Why? I'm sitting back, I'm relaxing, and I'm letting God show me what I need to be doing. While I'm waiting, I'm doing that. Let me read my scriptures of the day. Let me put out these words, help other people. Let God heal me like He's healing them, and let me just move on. And when it's His time to do whatever He's going to do, He's going to do it. Whatever else he wants me to do, I'll do it. That time appears when you stop rescuing people God is removing. Let me say that again. Time appears when you stop rescuing people that God is removing. David never tries to save Saul's dynasty. No, you find time when you stop fighting God's pruning, meaning he's cutting away. When you prune, you cut away. When you are cutting away, it is going to hurt. Don't think it's not. If you cut yourself, it's going to hurt. When he cuts away these people, places, and things, you have to heal. You have to grieve. It's going to bleed. It's going to hurt. Yes, it's going to hurt. But you have to let God do it. Stop trying to keep them if he's removing them. It makes the process harder. You keep getting cut and hurt and wounded in the same places because between the people hurting you and God trying to get them away from you, you're just adding more stuff onto yourself. Now, how to reverence time? Reverencing time means treating it as holy or not casual. And this is where I am now. You know what I'm saying? In my life, I'm not just casually now. My time is very important to me. Whether it's important to you or not, it's important to me. You will mess yourself up messing with my time. David reverences time by refusing shortcuts, refusing manipulation, refusing premature elevation, refusing, to sustain his destiny, refusing to kill what God hasn't killed. And that could be manipulating and I forget the other one, but yeah. But reverencing time looks like patience. So we don't want to take shortcuts. We don't want manipulation and folks to be calculated, coming over here trying to plan, plot, scheme, and do all this, stuff. We don't want premature elevation. We don't want folks coming in thinking they rescuing us and, they're not. And we don't want our destiny stained, so we want to keep our hands clean. We don't want to refuse to kill what God hasn't killed. Okay, so if it's something God wants to keep, we keep it. If it's something he wants us to get rid of it. And we got to know the difference in the two. Reverencing the time looks like patience, restraint, wisdom, emotional maturity, spiritual sensitivity, honoring God's pace, and refusing to rush your real rise. So patience, restraint, wisdom, emotional maturity, spiritual sensitivity, honoring God's pace, refusing to rush your rise. Reverence is respecting God's timing even when you're ready. So I may be ready to move and do all these things. Yes, I may be ready to do a lot of things. But if it's not God's timing, I remember when I was getting ready to move out of my apartment, I was going through so much. It seems like everything was so intense at that time. And even down to the last wire, when I tell you, it's like, whoo, the floodgates busted open. Why? Because it seems even to the last day it was up in the air because they was giving me so much crap at that place, and it was like the people was acting so funny towards me, and I was just like, I didn't even understand it, but it was a part of the process. But by the time I finally did move and get into here, it was just such a blessing for me. But then it was bittersweet because a lot is going on since I've been here too. So it was like this is my transition place. I know I'm not here to be here where I am forever, because this is a place where all the ugly is gonna come out. And then I have to go to the new place because I already know that this place is a transition. Meaning, from the time I got here, so much has gone on. It's been crazy. And I wasn't really able to enjoy it the way that I wanted to because it took a lot. When you have these moments where you have worked so hard and you get to certain places in your life, the only thing that you have is the fact that once you get there, to be able to enjoy the moment to the fullest. But if you're not able to do so, it really takes away from that moment, like going to school and finishing and someone messing up, the graduation ceremony, or getting married and someone messing that up, or, any highlights in your life that people that you have worked so hard for, and, people will come along and mess it up for you, or, something will just happen that falls out of the sky. It messes it up. It taints it. It forever leaves this stain, Like I tell my children, you think about these things when people get married, when they have babies, when they do this, when they finish school, get their first house or apartment or car. These are milestones to them. These are things that they have worked so hard for. If they open up a business, and I try to be as, helpful, to these people, or, as assistant as they need me to be, help in loving them and wanting to see them do that. And if this is what they is, let them know, honey, it takes a lot to do what you do. The respect, the honor that's there, for them for being able to beat all the odds, to get up every day and work and hard and actually finally make it, above all of these odds that could have been against them with the reason that they couldn't have made it. And so you give people their flowers and you honor them and you don't take away their time and their moments and you don't make it about you. And this is what this is. People a lot of times don't understand and know how to do that because it got to be all about them all of the time. And a lot of times it's not. It's not, everything's not all about you. And we have to pay attention to that. Let people have their times. Let people shine. Let people do what they're doing, and respect it and honor them and support them and be happy and clap for them. Now, time reveals true motives. Why time is important. Rechab and Baanah were loyal until they shifted, till the time shifted. And they betrayed Ishbosheth. Time exposes the hearts, and this is why God says don't rush it. Because whenever you rush something, I tell this, time exposes, it doesn't change, it reveals, it exposes. It doesn't necessarily heal, but it helps you get, deal better. So when I tell people these things, it makes a lot of sense. So pay attention, to what time is showing you. Time separates real leaders from temporary ones. Ishbosheth collapses when Abner dies. David grows stronger. Time reveals who's truly called, meaning, will you endure all of the heartache and pain? Will you last even in the end? Will you make it to the destiny? Will you be able to get the crown? Will you be able to be seated in it, meaning finish it and sit down and move forward and build and grow it? Because getting it and maintaining it is two different things, and keeping it. Time protects destiny. If David had accepted Ishbosheth's murder as help, his kingship would be built on blood. Time keeps your eyes clean. You don't want to step on other folks. You don't want to kill other folks. You don't want to take away from other folks. You don't want to destroy other people to get to where you're going. And no, you don't have to do that. Exploit them, oppress them. You don't. There's a difference when God does it and he takes his time than when you rush and take the shortcut and get the devil's, Satan's deals that sounds great and then later on down the line. No, it costs you everything. Time heals lineage wounds. That's the difference between getting it and maintaining it. Time heals all lineage wounds. Mephibosheth's injury came from panic. David's future kindness to him will come from time and healing. So we don't want to be in panic mode. Okay, we know things happen. We got to, I tell people I have anxiety, so I have to deal with certain things. Yes, a lot of mental, a lot of stuff go. So God is working with me through these things. Why trauma triggers this, will bring out different stuff. So yes, I have to sit down and I have to, like I said, I read these devotionals. I make sure I have bright colors in my house and all this because this helps me in those times when I am, going through a lot of stuff. It helps. Time repairs what trauma broke. Now, I don't say it repairs it. I would say it helps you deal with it better because it doesn't change anything. It just helps the way you see it and it helps you deal with it better. Time proves character. David's refusal to rush proves integrity, maturity, wisdom, spiritual intelligence, and time is the test of leadership. This is what it is. Time. When that, some people see time as they're doing time, whether they're locked up, whether they're, here and they're going through something and then counting the minutes, whether it's at work or, the next thing they're trying to do and they, pay attention. Time, it means different things to different people. Okay? And you got to respect it. Time proves character. David's refusal to rush proves integrity, maturity, wisdom, spiritual intelligence. Time is a test of leadership. Time in the mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual dimensions. Mentally, time gives clarity. Rushing creates confusion. Okay, take your time when you're doing anything, getting married, getting businesses, whatever. Don't rush major decisions. Don't rush decisions, period. Take your time because time reveals a lot of things that you don't know that will be going on. Emotional, time stabilizes emotions. Panic creates wounds, like Mephibosheth. Panic has trauma, it has fear-based, all of these things. Physically, the time protects your body from stress, burnout, and accidents. Financially, time builds wealth slowly, securely. Shortcuts will create loss. Why? Because you're trying to do something swiftly. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Spiritually, time is how God shapes your character, your discernment, your wisdom, your humility, your authority. Naturally, time reveals patterns. Time exposes motives, yes, and agendas, and people, places, and things. And time matures fruit, meaning it allows whatever it is you're carrying to be matured, to ripen. Personal prophetic takeaways will be your rise cannot be rushed. That's number one. God is protecting your timing. People who try to help you by forcing outcomes will be removed because it's not in their time. It's not about them, their motives. It's not about, what they want in their agenda. It's God's agenda. It's not even about you and your agenda, because if your agenda don't line up with God, it's not going to be that either. So your destiny will unfold cleanly without shortcuts and or manipulation, meaning trying to force it, make it, going to tarot cards and looking into your future and, no. You can mess yourself up doing that. Time is your ally, not your enemy. There's certain things we're not supposed to know until it's time for us to know. That's why we don't know everything. Okay? And God doesn't want you to have it and know it all, because a lot of stuff that we go through, a lot of our lives, if we knew everything, how would that look? That's like the cheat code. You're entering a season where God gives you back the time that you lost. That's what you want more than anything. We want our future, meaning our children, our people, places, and things that are to be healed through our patience. That's whatever we are doing. We want God to heal it in our patience in time. And that's whatever we got, whether it's in your business, situation, it's in your family, your friends, if it's in your healing, your physical body, your finances, your spouses, your children, your family, your friends, whatever. And you will rise like David, but it will be slowly, it will be steadily, and it will be securely. And that's what people don't like, because they'll sit there, they want you to. Now, no loyalty and only opportunists. Now, I looked at this and I said, these people had really no loyalty. They only were opportunistic. And so I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, Lord, these people just wanted what they wanted. So we didn't look at it. In transition seasons, loyalty disappears. When God shifts you from one season to another, the people who were there, loyal in the old season, they may suddenly fall off, switch sides, get quiet, get jealous, get distant, and get opportunistic. Why? Because their loyalty was never to you. It was to the season that you were in. So whatever you was carrying, whatever you had in that season, whatever you had going on, that's where their loyalty came and went. That's where it was. So it could be your money, your finances, your time, your business, whatever it was that you had going on. They were loyal to you because opportunistic wise, it benefited them at that time. When the seasons change, their loyalty evaporates. This is exactly what happened in 2 Samuel 4. Opportunists thrive in chaos. Rechab and Baanah weren't loyal to Ishbosheth. They weren't loyal to Saul's house. They weren't loyal to David. They were loyal to their own survival, their own hidden agendas and motives. Now, all they was doing was coercing him. Remember, they were just letting him think that, and it wasn't. They wanted to control him from the sidelines. Opportunists move fast. They act without conscience. They attach themselves to rising people. They detach themselves from falling people quickly. Do favors nobody asks for. Try to force outcomes. Want credit for your rise. Want proximity to your destiny. They feel entitled to everything you have and whatever you have going, especially when you're rising. They don't want no parts of the bad parts. They only want everything that's good. Anything that's good in your life, they want it. They want to have, access to it. They want to put themselves and stand beside you. They want a competition with you, whatever it is. They're not loyal. They're strategic parasites. This is what they are. Loyalty cannot survive in a dying system. Saul's house was collapsing. Ishbosheth was weak. Abner was dead. The kingdom was shifting. In dying systems, loyalty dies. Fear rises. Opportunity multiplies. People act out of panic and fear. People betray each other to save themselves. This is why we're seeing what we're seeing. Your old environment is collapsing. Your old season is dying after you see this happening. Your old connections are fading. And the people who were loyal in that season were revealing their true motives now in this one. Opportunists reveal themselves whenever you rise. When David's destiny became undeniable, opportunists rushed to him. Why? Because they was in an opposition of him all this other time. Not to support him, not to benefit from him. But this is what they would, okay. When David's destiny became undeniable, opportunists rushed to him, not to support him. Remember that, but to benefit from him. And this will be what this will look like in your life. People who ignored you before, doubted you before, minimized you before, competed with you before, and talked about you before, they will suddenly watch you, study you, try to attach themselves to you, try to so-called help you, try to get close to you, try to get credit for what you're doing. And they will not have any loyalty, only to opportunism, right? So loyalty is real because destiny is heavy. People can be loyal to you for comfort, familiarity, convenience, benefits, access, and image. This is why they will cling to you. But very few can be loyal to you during truth, calling, destiny, growth, transformation, and elevation. When you're going through these hard times, they may not want to be bothered. Your calling is heavy, your destiny is weighty, your lineage assignment is serious. Most people cannot carry that with you, so they default to opportunism. So this is what this would look like. These would be the same people that were mocking you, making fun of you, happy that you cracked a smile when everything was going on in your life. They had so much to say, laughed and, joked about you. This is what this would look like. They may not have done it in your face, but behind your back, they were doing it. Conversations were being held. They were happy. Oh, this one thought she was so that. That one thought they were so that. Look at her now. Look at this now. Oh, she's this. She's that. Oh, she done lost everything. This is what this will look like. God allows opportunities to expose themselves, not to hurt you, but to protect you. This is why you got to pay attention. People show who they are by their actions and their words. If you watch them, you will see it by the ways that, because they can't pretend all the time around you. A little bit here and there is going to sneak out, and you'll see their mask will slip and it'll come off. You'll see it. One, God lets opportunists talk too much. He lets them move too fast. He let them reveal their motives. Not intentionally, but on the side. He helps them expose their intentions, show their true heart towards you, if you pay attention. So you don't take them with you into your next season. Why? Because this is mercy, this is protection, this is clarity. Those will be the same ones who want to sabotage you. This will be the ones who want it for themselves, who want to take it, who want to kill you off or have what you have. This is why. When you are in a David season, loyalty is rare. David had Jonathan. He was truly a loyal person to him. Jonathan was there even against his own father in the battle with him. A few mighty men tested loyal. That's right. And a whole crowd of opportunists. Exactly. When you have a few real ones and many who want access but not relationship, proximity but not partnership, benefit but not covenant, this is normal for people with calling. So we have to pay attention. Why? Because those things mean a lot. And I'm learning this a lot, now for my own self. God is showing me a lot of different things in my life. Now, personal prophetic insight. When you're rising, and rising exposes motives. God is removing people who cannot go with you. Opportunities are revealing themselves so that you don't trust them later. Your next season requires clean relationships. You are being separated from the people who only loved you for your struggle and not for your success. God is protecting you from destiny for people who want to profit and benefit off of it. It's the same ones who laughed at you, mocked you, thought you would never make it, never have nothing. They were trying to slide on over there, and come and talk to you, be what you did. And enter the season where loyalty will be rare but pure. So this is what we have to pay attention to. And I always say in my lowest and in my, highest seasons, I want to see how people are in different seasons in my life. Depending on what I'm going through and how they're treating me. If folks was talking about me to other folks, it will be revealed. Eventually what they said will come back and I will know it. How they really felt, how they, by little simple situations. I know if I had conversations with them and other people is discussing with me what we talked about and this is how I tell you a lot of little things about what is going on. Like I said, God will expose these people, places, and things. You will see who's who. You will see what's what. And a lot of times people thought I didn't know, see, or hear. They thought I was stupid and lame. No, I saw, I heard, God let me see whatever. And I moved accordingly. Why? Because it wasn't about me G-checking it. It was God letting me know, I'm going to let you see this because you think so highly of these people, places, and things, but I want you to see their true hearts towards you for yourself. So that, before anything happens, you already know that this is how they really feel. This is how they really feel about you. This is how they are when you're not around. And it's very important how they treat you when they're not around, or how they talk about you and deal with other people when you're not around. If they make fun, if they laugh, if they think it's, your situation, if they talk bad, whatever, talk down to you, and this will let you see, at the end of the day, what their true heart and true motives is to you. You know what I'm saying? Because people who genuinely love you, they would not want to bash you. They would not want to, mistreat you or downgrade you or, have all of this extra stuff going on, And so we have to be very aware of what is going on and protect ourselves, not just ourselves, but our time, our money, our energy, our efforts, our mental, emotional, physical, financial, and spiritual well-being. And they could be the closest ones, the ones you claim to love so much, the ones you want to bless, the ones you want to do so much. And this would be the ones that, I'm like, ooh, if I ever, hit the lotto, if I ever got any money, ooh, I would bless this person. I would do this for this person. I would do that just to show them, thinking that they love me. But in all actuality, they did it. They had hidden motives and agendas. And this comes from husband to family to friends. Their motives, their stuff, the way that their heart was really and truthfully towards me. They looked down on me. They didn't think I was, enough. They didn't value me. They had their own agendas. They wanted me to be around because I benefited them. Whatever the reason was. Now, do we hate them? No. God says we forgive them. He asks us to grieve it, to give it to him and let us grieve it and, heal from it, grow, learn, and just move on, But we got to understand and know that this is how this person is. And I remember DMX said a long time ago before he died, he said, trust them to see them and know them when you see them. Trust them to be them. And know them when you see. Trust a liar to lie. Trust a manipulator to manipulate. Trust a controller to control. Trust a thief to steal. Trust. This is what you got to do. If that's who they are, you have to trust them to be them. And know them when you see them. Just move on with your life accordingly. You know who they are. You know if they're messy. You know if they talk about everybody. You know if they, this is what you got to know. You move accordingly. You trust them with certain aspects, or you talk to them with certain aspects of, you deal with them the way you need to deal with them. But things that are really important, things that are really aggressive, you got to keep that to yourself. You let people know what you want them to know and and nothing else. Because you'll see that will be thrown back up in your face. You will be humiliated, mocked. When stuff goes wrong, it will be thrown back. You will know really what is going on. So just pay attention. But I love you guys, and I hope that this was a benefit to your life. Remember your time. Honor your time. Okay? Don't let people, places, and things waste your time, your money, your energy, your effort. I told you, sow into good ground. Not the ones who's trying to, take from you, manipulate. No, that's not good ground. Good ground will yield a return in due season. And that is the difference. If it's in bad ground, it would choke the seed out and it won't produce anything. Please understand, anything you're putting your time, money, energy invested into, God is supposed to come back. You're supposed to reap a harvest. And what that harvest looks like depends on a lot of different things. And this is why we got to pay attention to our hearts, our seeds, and what we're doing. Who we're called to and who we're not. We'll be blessed. We're bruised and not broken. In Jesus' name, I hope that this message was a blessing to you. It was obviously a blessing to me because it took me 2 whole days to really sit down. I'm like, Lord, with this time and with this all stuff. I'm in my little therapy bag. I'm doing my little whatevers. And honey, I hope that y'all are too. Be blessed in Jesus' name. Love you guys.